growing my crypto portfolio to $1 million. So right now, my Bitcoin position of $4,952 is up 3.04%, and so basically I'm up $150 with 62 cents. And my Ethereum investment of $2,590 is down 7.15%. Right now I'm basically down $185 with 10 cents. And so how did, crypto do overall, right? How did Bitcoin do? So today Bitcoin had a 4% move today, right? And we finally broke above the 20-day moving average, and it looks like Bitcoin has broken above the 50-day moving average. And so what's next from here, right? So what I feel like that's next for Bitcoin is that if Bitcoin does get rejected by the 180-day moving average, then I personally feel like we could bounce off the 50-day moving average. And if Bitcoin uses the 50-day moving average as support, then once again we could try and break the 180-day moving average, thus leading, if we break the 180-day moving average, then we can see a continuation towards the uptrend for Bitcoin. And Ethereum, right? Ethereum, okay, it finally broke above the 9-day moving average, but it looks like it's having trouble now breaking the 20-day moving average. And I personally feel like if we do get rejected by the 20-day moving average, and we decide to, basically if Ethereum gets rejected by the 20-day moving average, the next thing that could happen is basically Ethereum could use the 9-day moving average as support. Now, if Ethereum does use the 9-day moving average as support, then we could see Ethereum bounce off the 9-day moving average, thus, leading for Ethereum to once again, right, try to break that 20-day moving average. So if we can break the 20-day moving average, then we can see a bit more continuation towards the uptrend for Ethereum. And yeah, I mean, on the weekly, so on the weekly, it looks like it's slightly above the 180-day moving average. And so that's kind of a good sign, right, for the long term. And I personally feel like if that's the case, then we could possibly see, by next week, or really, and possibly tomorrow, Ethereum, try, how do you say? I personally feel like if Ethereum can break above the 180-day moving average and use it as support, then the next level of resistance that Ethereum needs to break is the 50-day moving average. And then Bitcoin, I didn't say what it was, but looking at it on the weekly chart, you can see that Bitcoin used the 50-day moving average as support in a way. So basically, if you look at this previous weekly candle, right, it used it as support. You can see that this week's candle used the 50-day moving average as support. And so basically now on the weekly chart, right, we have to break the 9-day moving average. If we break the 9-day moving average, then we can see continuation towards the uptrend for Bitcoin, right? And so what's next, right? So how did the overall stock market do today, right? Stock market did somewhat well, mine is the exception of, Apple, but you can see that Apple is all the way up here. Amazon did pretty good, but out of these magnificent 7 stocks, I chose one in particular, and that one particular stock that I chose was Google. The reason I chose Google is because I personally feel like Google was the most oversold stock out of the whole magnificent 7. And if you take a look at Google, right, it looks like it looks like we're above the 200-day moving average now. So basically tomorrow we have to use the 200-day moving average as support. That way we can try to break that resistance level which is, or we have to break that 180-day moving average. Once we break the 180-day moving average, then I personally feel like we can see a bit of continuation towards the uptrend for Google. And yeah, and then looking at it on the weekly chart, it looks like it's above the 50-day moving average on the weekly chart. So if Google can try to break that 9-day moving average, then we should be set for a continuation towards the uptrend. And yeah, and I just want to show you guys like that strategy that I've been back testing. So basically the strategy is that I basically only trade options with mega cap stocks. And so basically what I did was, like I mentioned, right, out of the Magnificent Seven, right, I chose Google. And the reason I chose Google, because in a way I was like, okay, it's like super oversold. The other stocks are like somewhat a little bit high, in a way. And basically also I kept in mind like, okay, if I were to invest into into stocks, right, I would only invest into mega cap stocks, not so much like what I did, invest in small cap stocks like American Airlines. And the reason I say that is because small cap stocks usually don't do so well in a way. I mean, they do. I mean, but I don't know. I just personally feel like mega cap stocks are way better. They're financially better. Their financials are good, and etc. Right? And so I chose Google, right? So basically, the strategy is I chose Google because it's like an oversold mega cap stock, right? And the second reason I was like, okay, I want to see what would happen if I stayed in an oversold mega cap stock for at least a month, right? Or depending what, yeah, in a month, right? Basically. And so I bought Google call options around the 160 area, and then I bought Google call options at the 155 area. And last but not least, I bought Google call options around the 150 area. And the reason I bought around those certain levels of Google call options, right, was because I was like, in a way, I was like, okay, Google might approach this level of, I don't know how to say it. Basically, I was like, okay, I feel like now that Google is under, this moving average, I'm gonna wait and see if it gets rejected by it. And meanwhile, but just to be safe, I'll buy, a call option there just to see, if Google can rebound to the upside. But if it gets rejected by that certain moving average, I'll just wait and see if, Google, if I can buy, Google at a lower price, right? And so basically, the whole thing is basically, I guess, to make it easy to understand, right? Step one, look for an oversold mega cap stock. And then step two is basically, once you buy into that mega cap stock, you have to wait until that mega cap stock gives you at least a 10%, if not a 15% return on your investment. And step number three is kind of like doing your own technical analysis on that oversold mega cap stock. And the reason I say that is because you don't want to, let's say like okay, like on the weekly, right? If I had bought, what was it, like, I guess the daily is better in a way, but basically if I'm seeing that Google is getting rejected by the 9-day moving average and I'm using like support levels, right? I'm gonna ignore the support levels, right? I'm gonna try to use more the moving averages, right? So I was like, okay, let me see. Once, like, I think I saw Google somewhere around this area, right? I was like, let me see if Google can bounce off the 180-day moving average, right? So for example, I would get in once Google is on the 180-day moving average. And So, for example, I would get in at that point, right? And so I would just wait and wait until finally, that position is either, up 10 or 15%. And, I basically use context clues by using, using the 9-day moving average. You could see that since July 15th, it's just been getting rejected by the 9-day moving average. And then, you could use the moving averages in a way, like if you had bought, let's say you bought a call option on July 18th, right? And you're just patient, you're waiting for that 10% return, right? And you see that Google approaches the 9-day moving average and you feel like it might get rejected by the 9-day moving average. The safest bet is to sell out as soon as possible when that position is up 10%, because you can never know that certain stock, or I guess you could say, that certain stock could just go tremendously down the next day. So I don't know if you understand. I can explain it a little bit better. I just don't have really that much time. But hopefully you guys did well. Basically, the crypto portfolio right now, my Bitcoin investment is up $150 with 62 cents. And my Ethereum investment is down $185 with 10 cents. As always, I'll see you guys in the next video. As always, take care and bye.